Greetings, Legionnaires, and welcome. Tonight we'll be doing a commentary for the movie The Avengers, and this was chosen by our patrons over on Patreon. So thank you so much to our Centurions over at the $25 tier for choosing this one, and boy howdy am I excited about it because as of this recording, it is April 23rd, 2019. We are just a few days away from Avengers Endgame, and I'm going to watch each one of these films leading up to that one, all the Avengers ones. I won't be doing commentaries on the other ones, Age of Ultron and Infinity War, right now, but this is the one that we were requested, and well, we're going to do it. We're going to get right into it. So let's start this thing up. If you want to watch along with me, I'm going to let you know where we're starting, and you can do so, or you can just kind of listen along as I talk about my thoughts and feelings on the film, and maybe some behind-the-scenes information, too. We'll see. I might not know as much as some would. But anyway, here, let's just jump right into it, shall we? All right, so hit and play, and we're looking at the Marvel flashes there with the comics and stuff. There it is, Marvel. Yes, so cool. And here's the Tesseract, baby. Oh yeah, just a little foreshadowing there. Haven't seen this movie in a long time, and I remember seeing it back in college and just being blown away. But especially at the ending. And here we are at the very beginning, getting the tease of Thanos. Good stuff. Now I forget if he's called the Other, this Chitauri guy. And I think they're supposed to have two pairs of thumbs, the Chitauri. So right in the beginning here, we're already kind of getting that this is actually all for Thanos. Like, we think it's just Loki and the Chitauri and stuff, but it's not. Now, I remember kind of being a little bored with this intro because it's a big setup, for the rest of the film. But because we don't get any of the superheroes right away. It's kind of weird. Pegasus Project, the dark energy stuff here, actually tied back into Captain Marvel, which was set in the 1990s. So that's kind of cool to see that, like, this facility is tied back in. Coulson, oh man. I like Coulson a lot. I actually liked Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I didn't watch all of it, but one thing I like about this movie, too, comparatively to the standalone ones, is, like, you are getting, like, a focus on Nick Fury right away. So you know that it's kind of a big and serious deal. Now, the Tesseract has had a really interesting, timeline because it's moved around a lot in the MCU. Kind of the first time we really see it is back in Captain America, the First Avenger, where it's kind of being hidden away in Norway in, like, this kind of wooden, a tribute to Yggdrasil or the Tree of Life, and then kind of moves around from time to time throughout the decades, and again referenced and shown in Captain Marvel. I will also say this. I really like Samuel Jackson as Nick Fury. I think he's good, but I do not like, is it Colby Smulders as Maria Hill? I'm not a huge fan of her portrayal of that character. But I guess I'm just not a huge fan of her just because I don't like the movie or the TV show she's on. One thing that's kind of interesting, too, about the Tesseract here, and we kind of get this a little bit with, like, the Soul Stone, is that, like, it seems like these Infinity Stones actually have kind of, like, personalities, too. But not all the stones seem to have that. It's weird. I don't know why Hawkeye just likes to sit up top like a weirdo like that. A lot of low angle shots here in the beginning too. But it's nice for him to kind of get a little bit of an intro here because you only really see him in the first Thor film for a little moment. But now you get to see a little bit more of him, which is nice. The Tesseract is an interesting Infinity Stone as well, not only because, it's incredibly powerful, but besides being an energy source, it's also like a teleporter. It can also like phase matter, like we saw in Infinity War, where Thanos basically puts the Hulkbuster into some rocks, kind of with the Tesseract. And finally getting the kind of resurrection of probably one of the greatest Marvel villains. Not maybe resurrection, but the return of him here, which is great, is that of Tom Hiddleston as Loki, who I think is still heralded as probably one of the greatest villains that the MCU has ever seen. A lot of people love Loki. And I like him a lot too. I think he really does a good job. I will say you can really get a feel for Joss Whedon's directorial style. It kind of feels TV show-esque. Not that that's a bad thing, but it does feel different than the Russos. And Tom Hiddleston's face is perfect for Loki, too. I mean, he just looks the part. Right, there's the Mind Stone. It's actually yellow, but it's in a blue casing. I like to here we get kind of Loki's brutality, and you get to see him kind of just rip some people apart, and you're like, whoa, okay, this guy's crazy. And he can take bullets. It's like, oh, that's cool. A lot of people forget that, Loki is technically an ice giant, but a lot of people think of him as an Asgardian. I don't really know exactly how it all works, especially like he learned magic that it kind of like his adoptive mother knew. It's weird. I don't understand it completely. Loki's hair also looks just fantastic here. It's looking good. And Hawkeye's hair looks pretty good too. Now the Mind Stone, also another very powerful, gem, Infinity Stone. You kind of think they would use more of that kind of down the line, but in like Infinity War, but we didn't really get the chance, seeing as that was one of the, I think it was the last one that Thanos had to get. And there's probably a reason for it, so they didn't have a whole bunch of mind-controlling things like they do in this film happen again. A burden with glorious purpose. I love it. Some really fun writing in this. I really like that. The ant with the boot thing, so good. Now, if you have seen the other Marvel films, you kind of get this feeling that Loki, he's definitely kind of conflicted. There's a lot of consternation there. But he's not always like the full main villain. So a lot of this, I think, is just the aftermath of Thor being angry that like they left him, or he like let himself go and they thought he did, and all that stuff. So it's interesting. It's just Loki just kind of throwing a tantrum as he's ought to do. If I were Loki, I would just mind control everybody. Like, mind control her. Mind control everybody. That bullet, by the way, kind of knocked him down in a weird way. That was interesting. Nick Fury, man, he's got that good plating. Like, this whole sequence isn't bad, per se. It just, to me, is like, eh. Also, I have Lily here, who's joining me, so you might hear her throughout the commentary. Right to my Liller. Yeah. Avengers is best viewed with a golden retriever by your side. I think another reason why we get this in the beginning too, without actually seeing the Avengers, is because they wanted to have this kind of intro action scene that didn't involve really any of them except for Hawkeye. Kind of establish the threat a little bit, but it does kind of feel like a little bit of a waste of time. Yeah. I don't know. It's just kind of like, eh. And they also have a better chase scene in Winter Soldier and stuff, so it's like, eh. Just by comparison. Also, you kind of get this intro where it's like, nobody's going to die here. Like, they're not going to kill anybody off in the very beginning of this film. Yeah, I'm not sure why the Tesseract, like, made that energy thing. It's like, so it, like, called him in somehow. I don't know how they got the Tesseract to make a portal, or how Thanos got to send him there. Because he kind of ports in on that location? Maybe Chitauri technology zeroed in on it or something? I don't know. Seems a little weird, I guess, now that I'm kind of trying to pick it apart. Also, this kind of driving tunnel sequence reminds me of one of the Fast and Furious movies where they're driving through like these tunnels underneath Mexico for a while. It's like, eh. It's kind of like never-ending tunnels, I guess. I do like that Fury is still trying, though. He's a pretty good shot, which is cool. Fury gets some good play in this movie. And this little moment here with him in the helicopter feels very much like a comic panel. Yep, somehow she survived, I guess. Why don't you call the military right now? If you're at war, you know? He's like, time for that crazy idea I've had for a while. I love the Avengers theme. I really do. It gives me goosebumps every time. I'm like, yes. Even like the piano version. Now, you guys know how I'm a stickler for consistency. One thing I really don't like about The Dark Knight is that they've changed Rachel, the actress who played her in between. And soon we're going to be seeing Mark Ruffalo after this moment with Black Widow. And usually that would bother me, but I do like Mark Ruffalo better than Edward Norton as Bruce Banner. Also, another thing here, too, kind of showing a little bit of Joss Whedon, kind of his, his acumen dealing with female protagonists and heroines like this. This actually, an earlier draft of this was set with Hawkeye. Hawkeye was going to be the guy who's actually being interrogated. But I think it plays better with Natasha here. One thing I wish they would have done, too, with hers, I wish they would have actually really played more into the Russian backstory. She kind of, is using that accent, or that language right now, speaking it, but she doesn't really have that as part of her voice moving forward. She's just very Americanized. That's kind of more of a more modern take on the character, which is fine, but I kind of like having a deadly assassin with that kind of thick accent all the time. Again, this is where some of that kind of witty, jokey dialogue comes in. While I do appreciate it, at sometimes, in moments like this that are coming up here where she has a conversation with Coulson, it's kind of like, it kind of takes all the air out of any type of tension that was going to be. Not that she was going to get killed or whatever, but still, it's kind of like, eh. I do like that Coulson gets a little threat in there. He doesn't always get to do that, but it's great. See, and this is where I really wish they would have played into this a little bit more with her relationship with Barton. I know that we get to see that he has a family and everything, but I think their kind of friendship and potential possible romance is much more compelling than anybody else's on the team, because they're like the only two just like regular people. You know, there's obviously Iron Man and Tony Stark is a human, but like everybody else is so different. Gotta do the scissor kick. That's her thing. Man, there are a lot of edits in that little moment there. I like how there's that shot of them like shooting and like in the past, it's like Belgrave or something. It's like, who are they fighting? You know? They do have a nice kind of through line here between like the fall of that one shield facility, Pegasus, and then saying like, all right, we need to bring everybody in, and they call Black Widow, and then they're like, hey, you need to bring in the big guy. And now she goes to go talk to Banner. And this film kind of takes place, you know, obviously after Incredible Hulk, and the last time we saw him, or Edward Norton's Bruce Banner, was up in the Canadian wilderness, kind of learning to control his power, but it kind of makes sense that he would maybe kind of get back into the world a little bit, but it'd still be on the run. This kind of almost takes place, almost feeling like after Ang Lee's version of the Hulk, where he was kind of in Central America. That little girl is a good actor, man. I really do like Ruffalo's performance of Bruce Banner in specifically this first Avengers and Avengers Age of Ultron. I think in Thor Ragnarok for me and Infinity War, but he's too yelly, he's too screamy, he's too funny. It kind of takes away from the tortured soul of Banner. Not that you can't evolve and change the character over time, but still. So right there, it's their first lie to him. It just bugs me that she's just Natasha Romanoff. It's like she's not even trying. It's no even Russian attempt there. It's not like Natasha Romanoff. Like, ugh. Now, SHIELD, I believe, stands for the Strategic Homeland Intervention and Enforcement Logistics Division. Something like that. Which is weird because they call it that before the first Iron Man, and Coulson either like lies and says like we're still working on a name, or they just didn't think that far ahead. I like how he says that right there. He doesn't get what he wants, but he kind of swings the baby kind of crib. That's cool. That is an old phone. That's what it really is, Natasha. Well, there's a joke there, too. I guess they played into Captain Marvel, where he says, if you want me to swallow the Tesseract, well, because Goose from Captain Marvel swallows the Tesseract, so... Interesting. So she pulls a gun on him, but she knows who he is, and people are so scared of him. But like, I just miss the fear that he used to have. Like, oh man. It's like, look how scared she is of him. Like, she's so afraid, and I like that. It's like all those guys are there too, but like they would have done nothing to him. Ugh, I love it. That guy who's two in from the right, as a Powers Booth or something, or two in from the left, I should say. He's actually in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. too, as one of the main agents, but then is also found out to be, I think, part of Hydra. It's interesting. I like it. I'm trying to think of what Phase 2 is, if Phase 2 is actually the helicarriers. Could be. It's won by soldiers. I love it. Give me my boy. Oh, I love Cap. For anyone who doesn't know me, I love the Captain America films. I love the first one. It's got that nostalgic, like, kind of period piece feel to it. Winter Soldier, that kind of covert spy thing to it. But I love the look of that one. And then Civil War is just like Avengers 2.5. And they do kind of show just enough here of him where it's kind of like, oh, here's his past and how he's lost. And then they show like some of his powers too at the same time. So it's a really good job of showing a lot without saying a lot. So kudos to them. He just has so many punching bags ready to go. And I like how he's in like a era appropriate gym. I don't know why that kind of weirdness when he punches there. It's kind of like a thud, like there's something wrong with his wrist. Ugh. There's some good dialogue in this movie. That part there where he says, like, they say we won, but they didn't say what we lost. I love it. I also like to think he's the only person who gets to use that gym. It might not be true, but I like it. One common criticism I hear a lot with this film is that Captain America's outfit is not very good. And I have to agree. He doesn't really get a lot to do in this movie, unfortunately. He gets a few good moments, but he also doesn't look the best. I mean, Chris Evans, handsome man, just want to put that out there, though. I do like this intro to Iron Man here, too, kind of showing him working on something like engineering wise with the suit. We don't always get to see him do this sort of thing. A lot of the time it's him fighting in it and whatnot, but it's like, no, he could actually use this thing to, do work where it would be difficult to do work. One cool thing too about having an Iron Man suit is that, like, the fact that no one can really police it. Like, you just like, yeah, I'll fly wherever I want, whenever I want. Yeah, how can you not like Iron Man? Oh, it's fun to see, like, old school Tony Stark a little bit, where he's just so into himself, and that's kind of changed a bit. Even though it's old school to kind of take off the suit like this, I still really like it. There's something kind of a little more tangible to it as opposed to just being kind of the liquid metal it has been, especially in Infinity War. Oh, Jarvis. And one of the reasons I've heard that Gwyneth Paltrow is in, or no shoes, she's barefoot here, is that she kind of makes Robert Downey Jr. look a little bit taller than. Could be wrong. I don't know. It's back in the day, too, when he still has the actual kind of the core, the arc reactor in his chest. Good stuff. I also would love to see a speed video of it. What time lapse video of Iron Man building this thing, like picking up giant pieces and putting them into place. That would be great. It's hard for me to believe that Shield could override Jarvis, though. Also, those life model decoys are a real thing. Haven't really seen them fully in the MCU yet. I do think that, Robert Downey Jr. or Tony Stark benefits more from the witty banter of Joss Whedon more so than in the other films. His technology, even though you could say it's a little dated because it came out in like 2012 or something, there's still some futuristic feel to it where he kind of can, hack into things and kind of throw them up all over the walls and stuff. I love it. Yeah, I love it. Like see Hulk fighting over in the side there, like it's so good. It says Tesseract over there. It's good. I like Tony Stark's hair in this movie too. I'm gonna comment on hair a lot. I want everyone to get that out right now. I want them to know that it's just gonna happen. They talk about that right there. The cellist, this person that Coulson was into, and they actually touch on that in Agents of Shield. One thing I also do love about these movies, I love the design of the Quinjet. It's a little weird. It's this kind of osprey type thing, but I really do enjoy it. Kind of like the curved front of it. I like it. Coulson meeting his hero too is so much fun. I love it. Classic Joss Whedon writing right there. I love that line there too. Maybe people just need a little more like old fashioned there. Like it's so hard sometimes with this dialogue. I like to just listen to it, so I get a little quiet because I'm just like, this is good. I like this. Oh, look at those two guys with guns. They're just running laps. They just running laps, baby. Where are they going? Nobody knows. They just running. They just got mind controlled. And Loki's like, run laps with the guns. Patrol the area forever. So somehow the Mind Stone, I guess, can also allow you to like communicate this way. I don't know if it was also part of the ability to transfer himself to Earth in the first place. I don't know. It's weird. If I remember correctly, Ronan kills the other. I love seeing Loki in his full battle armor too with the horns. So sweet. Kind of Hellboy-esque with the horns like that. It's cool. Kind of that little nod to like up the stairs. Who's up there? It's good. It's so fun to watch this back because when I watched Avengers the first time, I didn't think about Thanos. I didn't think about who was that person, behind the curtain, that entity. But now watching this back, it's just like his presence is ubiquitous. It's always throughout this thing. It's like it's all been leading to it, which is crazy because Joss Whedon, I think he said himself, he's like, I wanted to do Thanos. I really want this to happen, but I didn't know how we are going to tackle that, so I just threw him in here. And it's also kind of crazy that he didn't get to do more with him in the sequel. He just did Ultron instead. It's like, huh. Now, I felt kind of stupid watching this the first time because I've watched some other Avengers stuff, like Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes, which is a great cartoon show. Please go watch it if you get the chance. It is excellent. A really good bunch of people in there. Captain Marvel's great. The whole team is really good. Hulk talks a little too much for my liking, but I should have known the Helicarrier was going to be that because I remember seeing like this and remember thinking like, oh, are they going to make it like a sub or whatever? I was like, no, they're going to make the Helicarrier. It's like, oh, that's all right. I like seeing or love seeing kind of Banner walking around kind of like not sure what to do. And Cap giving him the benefit of the doubt. So good. I like how she's kind of like throwing around these things like, oh, it's going to get a little hard to breathe, when recently she was straight up terrified to be within a few feet of Banner. Right? Maybe she's kind of come over that, but for most of the world, I think this is the first time that they actually saw the Helicarrier. So the concept is still pretty cool, even if it's kind of insane. I'm just trying to think of like what are the benefits. Like, why not just make it invisible and keep it in the water? I guess this way you can traverse over land. I like how they're just battening down the hatches and stuff right now. They're like, quick, lock everything down. We decided we're flying. I can just hear Joe right now just saying, like, you know how much thrust you need to propel something that up into the air and keep it hovering. Now, apparently this control room is supposed to be in the emblem of the SHIELD logo. So keep an eye out for that a little bit. And Banner there being afraid of the guards. It's like, he does such a good job of staying in that character all the time. So Fury's like using these like handles on either side, but like, what is he doing with it? Is he steering the ship? I don't even know. The world building, though, and some of these crazy things like the helicarrier do make this movie feel much larger than life than the previous films do, which is welcome. There's kind of the eagle head on the ground there. There he goes, paying that $10 for something he's never seen before, or whatever their bet was. Kind of the purple shirt there, not the purple pants, but I like that. That's not going to find them in time if you're sweeping every camera on the planet like that? It's crazy. You'd think you'd be able to find them. She just talks so cavalierly to him, as it were. It's just like, I thought she was terrified of him. I don't know. Iridium sounds like a thing you collect in a video game. I probably have collected in video games, like a mineral or whatever. I like that the Mind Stone makes like some people like Selvig just completely kind of like delusional. Oh, look at that's what's his face? One of those shield agents that's in Winter Soldier. I forget his name. Stanley, something. If this was such a big deal, why wouldn't you tell like the German military, like, you know, or whatever kind of standing force that they potentially have for defense in Germany? It's just like anybody right now, just to throw the plan off. The scene is kind of weird. It's kind of high class, but also weirdly brutal at the same time. Yeah, Caesar's cap suit. It's not. It's fine. There's something with the face, I think. I do like getting a little like Black Ops Hawkeye action here, which is great. Just dropping people, just like Punisher. So good. It's crazy too that Hawkeye being, you know, kind of quote unquote one of the weaker ones of the Avengers is so destructive to them when he's working for Loki here. Gives me some respect for the guy. That shot right here, Tom Hiddleston coming down the stairs, is a very good shot. That guy's probably not dead, but it's close, right? It's a little over the top. You're like flipping this dude around and then like stabbing his eye out or whatever. So like it chisels out the eye. Loki's like, yeah, I love it. They're running. But very comic booky, you know. And obviously this movie is based on comics and stuff. But just like stuff like this, I'm like, yeah, this I get this. Get that vibe. This was the Vibranium before Vibranium was Vibranium. Kind of. Except for Cap's shield. Again, his full suit looks so cool. Kind of probably would have been better to save that reveal for here as opposed to that kind of flashback where he's talking to the other, but it's fine. Practical effects here with the cars and stuff. Always love to see that sort of thing. Now, this is some magic that he learned again from his adoptive mother. Kind of like a political moment here a little bit with this one guy. Like, who is this guy, right? Like, if you're at this party, you're like, who is this? Also, if you don't speak English, you're like, what? I like how they keep flickering the decoys just to show you that they aren't real. This guy's like, no. Nah, man. I'm not going to bow to some weird guy with a horn helmet. Where did he come from, you know? I know the Quinjet, but still. The Sodia. I love how he says it. It's so good. Yeah, his outfit looks like they kind of just stitched it together on the day. I'm sorry. At this point, would you really... I guess there are civilians out there, so you don't want to shoot at them, but, like, just get him out of the way, and now let's just lay into him with the heavy gun. It's cool to see Cap fight a little bit, but his fighting style becomes a little more aggressive in the other films, which I really enjoy. Not today. I love just playing shoot to throw. When Iron Man shows up, it's so good. See, that's... If I was a superhero, I would want to do this sort of thing. Play this kind of music and roll in. Well, that noise it made when he shot him with the repulsors sounded like a weird punch from Indiana Jones. What the heck? I do like that in that first moment, even though Iron Man doesn't like Captain America, he does kind of acknowledge him. He's just like, Captain, you know, he doesn't... They're saving that for later. So his plan, though, is to get captured and then have the Hulk freak out in the helicarrier, which he knows they're going to. I like that there's this distrust of kind of each other right away there, but Iron Man is so anti-government in the early days and then becomes like more so understanding of it later on, and Cap flips as well. Ugh. And Thor shows up because dark magic or dark energy, apparently, you know, because even though the Bifrost is shut down, Odin can do that, which is fine. Like, it just picks his brother up. It's just like, I'm leaving. I like that kind of look over the shoulder and he says attack. It's so good. I love that Cap is still like the old school, like old fashioned conservative. He's like, there's only one God, man, and I'm pretty sure he does it just like that kind of thing, and kind of cutting that the scene there with the shield transition. It's so good. Ugh. This is back in the day when Odin or no, Thor's got like his crazy long hair. It's weird to see it. I like too that we kind of get the the consequences and fallout of the first Thor film. And this movie, while you could just watch this one, I still think it is best to watch Cap, Iron Man and Thor before you see this. I love it. He's just tossing him into an abyss, but he actually let go. So diluted. The ravens here kind of alluding that Odin is watching, which is cool. And it's cool to see how Thor has actually grown himself comparatively to the first film. I like old school Shakespearean Thor. I like it a lot. He's just so jokey nowadays, which is fine, but something about serious characters becoming jokes. Yeah. Oh, this is a fun little fight. That's a good old joke right there. I do like that you still get the Tony Stark consistent threats throughout. Like, even in Infinity War, there's always just this kind of like when he's talking to the Black Order, he's like, hey, you guys back off, get out of here, we won't have a problem. It's his go-to move usually. And so, yeah, there's something weird right there. Thor gets it, like Loki didn't run off. This is the first time, too, we actually get to see Iron Man fight against someone who is clearly at least a match for him, if not way more so. Like, he does get a few good hits in, he gets powered up by this, but still, it's great. And it's not somebody else just in a robot suit fighting him. It's not a super long fight, but it is a decent one all the same. Does lose his grip on Mjolnir there for a second. Iron Man's very lucky that Thor isn't going all out here. Boom. Love that. The headbutt. That headbutt, you kind of see that again with Superman and Wonder Woman in Justice League. I like how Iron Man has to be tricky in this fight. Kind of a lot of flying around and having to punch and then kind of jetting out of the way. It's good. uh, best part of this whole fight probably is just kind of seeing this. And it makes way more sense, again, if you have actually watched Captain America, because you'd be like, wow, that shield is amazing. Good stuff. A good way to end that fight. A brief little skirmish. Something I wanted to kind of, in even Captain America Civil War, or one of the other Avengers movies, is to watch these guys training together. Because that's the kind of stuff I love seeing, like, you know, the behind the scenes of like how they get better as a team, and then when they actually do come to blows, like how they use that against each other. That's compelling and fun for me. So again, yeah, Loki's plan is to get put in here and to get the Hulk released and to kill everybody on there and then attack New York. It's a very weird plan. Very convoluted. Because he's kind of eyeballing him here, just like, yeah, here you are. What's up, dude? But Tom Hiddleston does a great job of that kind of smug sneer that's always seems to be glued to Loki's face, unless he's just kind of angry and screaming at people. It's kind of a weird prison. A little callback there, the Ant Boot thing from beginning. Not bad. It's so weird that they built this thing for Hulk. So they're like, oh, so if he goes rogue, we're going to put him in this cage. I do like that you get to see Nick Fury a bit frazzled in this movie, because often you see him in these other movies and he's pretty calm and collected. And there's a few times, obviously, like you see Winter Soldier, he's not always in the best, you know, he's best mood or he's in dire straits. But this one kind of just like revealing that he's like, I am desperate, man. Like, you're freaking me out. This is a bad thing. I like it. I do like the design of this set, though. I think it looks really cool. Kind of this alien vibe to it. There's some of that stitching on the right side of Captain America's shirt or whatever. It's so weird. I like that Thor gets a little bit defensive here. And then he immediately backtracks. See, he talks to her about flying into Portland for the cellist. So funny. Iridium. Is that the same stuff that you get in Spider-Man 2? There's some item in there. Doc Ock wants, I don't know, it's weird. Just hear Lily snoring in the background there. So cute. I like how it's quick, but it just shows that like Tony's like already hacking in. And he's also like so intelligent that he can like take up thermonuclear physics overnight. And the bromance begins. I think it's fun because you have this like mutual respect between the two guys, but then you also have Tony in the beginning here who kind of likes that uncontrolled, unbridled nature, and he wants to do that every once in a while. And he has a buddy who can do that, but his friend doesn't want to do that. But Tony's always like, "Ooh, please, I want to see you do that," until he doesn't. It's the flying monkey reference. Had to give him something, right? And that's Jurek playing Gallagher right there, which is definitely foreshadowing, to the end where Iron Man is going against the Chitauri kind of by himself for a moment. It's pretty great. One thing I love too about seeing the Avengers films is that you do get Tony in the lab a lot by himself or kind of in the engineering bay, but it's fun to see him like working with Banner on this sort of thing and then working on Ultron together. It's great. It's cool. I like it. But I'm a man of a science background, so what can I say? Poking the bear. Love the Black Sabbath t-shirt though too. Now, apparently, Robert Downey Jr. hid a bunch of snacks on set like this, so this was completely ad-libbed that he's eating this stuff right now. So why wouldn't you go there first, is what I'm thinking. It's like, come on, man. Also, another thing, too, is that because S.H.I.E.L.D. hacked Jarvis earlier on, he's so obsessive that Tony would go and not only counter hack them, but probably make it so that Jarvis could never be hacked by S.H.I.E.L.D. ever again. I do like that even before S.H.I.E.L.D. is found out to be kind of Hydra, more or less, that there are already problems with it, that there's like this kind of like powerful, clandestine covert agency that's trying to get into like the weapons manufacturing business to protect the world, but they're not upfront about it. They didn't go to all these people and say, hey, we're going to have to make all these weapons because we have all these brand new threats that are showing up. They're like, nope, we can be on the DL. We don't have to talk about this. Just like a lot of layers, man. It's cool. Ugh, I love Ruffalo in this role. It's so good. I do like that there's a moment there where he brings up the actual name of the Hulk instead of just calling him the other guy, which he often does, kind of trying to sideline it. It's good. It's good. A lot of good little things in here. And of course, Shield is kind of carrying some of this stuff with him at the same time. And there's just Steve who's just like, you know what? I'm bored and I have nothing else to do right now, so I'm just gonna start breaking into things. Why not? And not that Steve ever really had distrust for his government before, because he was in World War II and there wasn't really that sort of thing going on where he had to mistrust the people he worked with. Kind of would have been nice to have like a true traitor amongst them besides the guy who was like at the actual ceremony or the test for when Steve got his powers. Oh man, doing this experiment like in a truck. Ah, hilarious. This is not OSHA regulated. I think it's fine too that I almost call her Padme, but Natalie Padme, wasn't in this movie because it would just been another person that they didn't really need to. They could have cameoed her, I guess, more so than a picture, but it's a lot of money going in this movie. And this is before we got to the point where all of these actors are now like household names. And Thor's armor in this one looks pretty good too. Kind of like lightning bolts. There's something in the way that he speaks in this like first Avengers film and the first Thor. And I know that it got kind of boring for Chris because like there's only so much he could do with this character until Ragnarok came around where he could be a little more wacky and stuff, but there's so much kind of gravitas and this kind of like disconnect between himself and his world versus Earth. I miss it. It's so weird because Fury's kind of basically asking Thor to go torture his brother. Like, I get it, he's desperate, and this is the sort of thing a spy would say and do, but still. One thing we also do get in this movie, which is kind of fun, and they do this with a lot of the main villains, but they all kind of get one-on-one time with Loki here, which I like. You know, it's kind of nice to see how they interact with him and how he does with them without actually just punching them. It's like, all right, how do we get these guys to sit and talk in a room without coming to blows? So make him a prisoner. Now, this whole like backstory here with Black Widow and getting Loki to kind of admit that he's trying to unleash the Hulk is it's so weird to me. I don't really get it. Like I understand the point of it, but it doesn't seem like it really lines up. Also, with Black Widow standalone movie, I wonder too if that's going to play into it, where like part of it's a flashback or a prequel, like the whole film, but that Barton Hawkeye was meant to go and kill her, and they actually fight for a bit, and then he doesn't. Be interesting to see that fight, even though we do get kind of it in this movie as well. Fun too that Loki kind of knows so much about all of them. It's great too because at the core of the Avengers, there's always this kind of dynamic of mistrust and anger and frustration, and it's even already happening with Shield, which is kind of an add-on to it all. Ooh, it's so mean. I like that's the same thing I'm thinking too. He's like, "What?" That's not like that doesn't give you anything. It's like, okay, so his whole goal is to unleash the Hulk on the ship. He could do that in a ton of different ways. My bad. Phase 2 is that. It's not the helicarrier weapons. This is the great scene right here where you get to see all of them kind of trading barbs, going back and forth. See, with Nick Fury and Shield, I totally get it. Like they feel like they're completely overmatched and overpowered, and this is exactly what humans would do. We'd be like, all right, we got to make the best and strongest weapons because whoever shows up next, we got to get ready to annihilate them. I see it. Makes sense. And it's great because like he says that the Earth is ready for a higher form of war, and it's like we didn't know there are other realms, you know. It's just kind of camera movement right through everything. I love it. And then you finally move in as it bounces between all the characters and shows the Mind Stone kind of flips upside down, kind of saying like, "Yep, this is what the bad guys want. They want them to fight." But then it just shoots right to that device on the Quinjet. It's great stuff. Decided to not make the helicarrier invisible anymore, I guess. Harder to land on, I suppose. He's like, I'm going to cripple the helicarrier with one arrow. This is a great line. Here we go. Genius, billionaire, playboy, philanthropist. It's so good. I love watching these two fight. Ugh. Oh, I love that line. Everything special about you came out of a bottle, which we all know not to be true if you've seen Captain America. Like, you know that he was a lot more than that before he got the powers. Like, you know, he was courageous. He never backed down. Like, he's a good-hearted individual, and just like, ugh. And to know that Tony has resentment towards him because of his father's love for him of Captain America. Great shot, by the way. Also, a lot of weird low-angle shots that Joss goes with. I don't know why. Maybe it's the director of photography? I don't know. I love the, like, let's talk about suicide now. And to this point, we still have not seen the Hulk yet, which is great, because it's like the build-up. Ugh. Like, they're all grabbing their guns. It's like, there's nothing that'll stop him. And I love that he's got it in his hand without him knowing it. Like, he just instinctually grabbed for it, like a source of power to, like, fight and kill. It's like, oh, it's so good. Again, they should have some sort of kind of, I don't know, defensive measures for this sort of thing. I don't know. I don't build helicarriers. What do I know? I don't know about these things. And put on the suit has a different meaning there. I love it. He's like helping him up instead of like trying to fight him. It's good. I like how they're in the air, but it still does feel like they're in a submarine. Oh, if they had an Iron Man suit, then they could get out there. See, once again, here getting some of the horror aspect and the actual fear that comes when you're working alongside Bruce Banner. I really like that. Yeah, Commando Hawkeye is cool. I don't know where that rope came from, but had to jump forward. Ooh, the old Iron Man suits. I love them so much. I just love the mechanical feel to them. And those guys are like, we gotta get out of here. I wonder if they all got briefing or briefings on who's on the actual like ship. You know. Ugh. See, warning contents under pressure. It says right underneath in there. It's so good. There's this kind of tragic anger to the Hulk, too. That's so good. And it's kind of interesting to put your kind of most powerful hero on the team, kind of, against the one without any powers. He does have this weird roar in this first movie, though. I'm not sure if I like so much. This is on like a messed up ankle, so good on you, Black Widow. Good on you. He's like, it worked. The explosion on the third engine worked. Again, this seems like a big flaw, but whatever. I love Cap, but he always seems like he's in a ship that's going down. I hope one day we actually get technology where we can really, like, you could put a helmet on like that and it would, like, show all these 3D models. I know we kind of have some of that stuff now, but to this ability, or just Iron Man suits in general. I like that because Tony could have been really mean to him right there. Like, they were just fighting, but they're actually pretty cordial. And even though Cap has no idea what he's looking at, Tony doesn't just lay into him. I appreciate that. It's good. It's like they both take it seriously. Yeah, see, Hulk is... he's scary. Here's the shot that I like to show in all the trailers and stuff. Oh, like, look at him, man. He's just cruising. See, this is good use of your slow-mo, too. Like, he just wants to kill her. And here's a fight that we... Man, this fight's pretty good. I still prefer the Hulkbuster one. I think it's the best one-on-one fight, but this one is not bad either. Probably one of the few characters in the Marvel universe, besides Thanos and Captain Marvel, who can go one-on-one with the Hulk just at any moment. Kind of a cool transition there where Thor goes into those, you know, that pile, and then you shoot over to some debris that Iron Man's kind of shooting out there. It's nice. I respect Cap that he can jump like that. Even with the power that he has, if I had it, I'd still be afraid to do that jump and whiff it and fall 30,000 feet. I love it. Thor's like, yeah, let's fight, dude. Boom. Such a good shot. Now, apparently that plane was maybe in True Lies. I'm not sure exactly. Ooh, nice dodge there. Oh, and one thing I wanted to see too, if anybody's watched the two Avengers animated movies, there is a moment where Hulk does pick up Thor's hammer, and it's great. Maria Hill survived it. It was one of those concussion fragment grenades that, yeah. I love, too, that you get Fury, who doesn't go for the first guy, and he's smart enough to, like, you know, plan that well. Dang, she recovered quickly. I also love that Coulson's first thing to do is to go grab, like, the new, like, special tech gun. And some guy screaming over, like, the PA system, like, Hulk and Thor are fighting downstairs. Oh, no. This poor guy. See, like right there, if it didn't work, I would just back up. I'd be like, nope, 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 nope. And those are just tracer rounds that we're seeing there too, so. This poor guy. It's not the first time we've seen the Hulk on a jet like this. If you guys remember back to Ang Lee's Hulk, you get a similar kind of moment. I like that he gets caught there for a second, but he still gets out. You're like, oh, good on you. I do love the red laser beam kind of coming back there. He uses it sparingly because it takes up a lot of energy, but you do get to see it maybe 4 times or so in all of the Marvel films. Like, Cap, that was incredible. Like, he, like, punched a grenade. Yeah, that guy's dead for sure. Remember one problem looking back at this movie is, like, the way Cap kind of shoots his gun. Like, he shoots it kind of crazily, but he's a trained soldier. Like, he wouldn't shoot like he kind of does there, where he kind of, like, does, like, spread fire. So weird. I like how he's got, like, the specialized, like, hacking arrow. I like the trick arrows. Those are fun. It kind of makes Hawkeye feel like he has superpowers. So, you know, they're doing that, but why not just blow up another engine? And she's just, like, terrified in there. It's great. It's not that I like seeing Black Widow, like, scared out of her mind, but it's nice to see her have a little more personality, and also, like, being kind of like, if we were in that circumstance or situation, we would be terrified of the Hulk. We'd be like, I can't believe I survived that. He hit me once and I'm still alive. It's also good to have Iron Man do something that no one else can do. It kind of takes him out of a lot of these other fights, because he could definitely figure out all the problems with Hawkeye and those other soldiers, you know, here. And just be like, I'll just take them all out. But it's like he's detained. Kind of the Uncharted moment here for Captain America. Just grabbing that one rope that's still attached. I like how I put his hammer down there for a second, and it does hit the ground. Like, it does do that kind of thump. It's like he lets go for 1 second. It just, there's a lot of weight to that thing. So now this fight I think is a little more interesting, because it does have a little bit more of this kind of, like, we know each other pretty well, and it's much more evenly matched. And I will give it to Natasha. She surviving the Hulk attack and everything and still going to fight like this is cool. I'd just go for it. I'd be like, I'm gonna smash this glass. How did he take that guy out? Coulson, did you just hit him with that gun? Like the destroyer gun? Now, apparently this moment here got flagged 3 times or so. 2 times. It kept getting them an R rating for this, because he kept getting stabbed like that, and it was too brutal, I guess. And the MPAA kept saying, like, nope, we're going to rate this movie R. And it was like, Disney and Joss were like, we can't do that. It needs to be PG-13. So, yeah. Not that it would make him stay dead forever. And I still think Coulson will probably show up in Avengers Endgame in some fashion. I just imagine getting dropped out of that thing. I think Thor and Hulk would be the only 2 who could survive something quite like that right now on the Avengers team. There's just nobody else. Like, I love Captain America, but he would not survive that. Don't really see Hawkeye use a knife too much either, which is nice. It's like, okay. Oh man, getting your face smashed into a railing like that would be so freaking painful. Be like, ah, my face. I like how he takes a swing and it makes that noise, but he doesn't get the hit. But I do like how they don't belabor this. Like, that's, you know, it would fall pretty quickly and they just kind of get over with it right there. It's like, okay, cool. Lacks conviction. I like how he didn't know what it did, and he just is like, okay, there we go. It's kind of this dying breath. Almost. Just test it out. Poor Iron Man. And I don't know about you. I'd be chucking buckets right now. I'd be like, oh gosh. It might not feel like he's going in a circle, but it probably does. I like, too, that they are dependent on each other in this moment. Like, Cap needs Iron Man to show up to come save him, but Iron Man also needs Cap to get to that lever. Otherwise, he's going to get messed up. And the first thing he does is he just flies to his rescue right away. Like, that poor guy's probably not dead, but maybe he is. Also, you notice this a lot, too, with masked superheroes, that their masks come off a lot. And I don't know if it's because they like, signed on for a certain amount of screen time or whatever else, but I notice that a lot, especially in Spider-Man movies, too. At the very end, his mask always gets messed up, or he loses it or something. I like how their Bluetooth is, like, very apparent on both of them, but then on the others, there's, like, you can't really tell. So they try to make it a little more apparent in the follow-up movies. It's kind of cool that Loki had anticipated somebody kind of coming up to attack him like that, so he not only tricked Thor, but he tricked Coulson as well. He's a trickster. God of mischief and all that. It's kind of weird, though, that the Avengers actually need a pep talk at all. Like, to get into the game. Like, they need to be like, oh yeah, Coulson died, and we gotta fight, because Coulson believed in this program, and you should do. Everybody's hair, though, still looking fabulous. You guys are looking great. And Tony's still wearing that Black Sabbath t-shirt. It's just like, yep, didn't have time to change. I always think these cards look like the blood on them is like a little too red. Like, they're kind of fakey. But the old school shield, too, that Cap's got. Ugh, I love it. The old kite shield. Man, Cap is just ripped. I mean, like, Chris Evans is just ripped in general for this role, but, like, man, ugh, it's crazy. Like, the diets that they go through and stuff. Right, Lily? Yeah, baby. Lily's like, I was sleeping, and then I woke up. Now I'm panting. Good girl. I forgot that he kind of gives this speech to just basically Tony and Steve, and they are like the main fixtures of the team, the two focal points and the two leaders, and to watch their relationship change over time. I love it. It's always a weird moment too that people kind of talk about in this movie is that you get Mjolnir here and Thor kind of like he's gonna reach out for it, and then it's almost like he's like I shouldn't or I can't or there's something going on. It's weird. I'm pretty sure this security attendant is from Alien, way back in the day. That's why he references an alien coming up here in just a second. You've got a condition. So good. Now, I don't know how far away they are from New York, but Banner does eventually show up on a motorcycle. Somehow. I don't know. Kind of interesting to see this like detox from the Mind Stone. See, again, though, I think their relationship, because of their shared history, and they're both like super spies. I don't know. It's interesting to have these like two just regular old people. They aren't necessarily like regular, but you know what I mean. Like they don't have like a lot of powers and stuff. It's just like they both have lived in this world for a long time, and now they're starting to see all these crazy things, and they're trying to cope with it. And their friendship is much more prevalent here in this movie than it is in subsequent ones, which is kind of too bad. Actually, the railing hit him hard in the head. Just wanna. I know it's semantics, but. The other thing, too, is that because they have these one-on-ones with Loki like this, and they all have issues with him, it's even better because it is very kind of almost vengeance-driven in a way. And I guess you could say that they're avenging this attack on the helicarrier, but now finally in Endgame we're getting like, oh, they lost, and now they're becoming true Avengers. But they still kind of are all going after Loki for, you know, the fate of the world, obviously, but there's personal stakes in it for all of them at this point. I've been compromised. Eh. So when she was talking to him about all that, she really meant it, and she just like happened upon the whole Hulk strategy plan thing. Now we're kind of entering the final act of the film here, where it really sings and hums and just really just comes together in a big way. Like, all this stuff has been pretty good up until this point, but this finale, this big grand battle, is just a whole new level. It would have been even better if he would have said, "I am not a soldier," right there. Remember we talked about with the whole tower thing? Come on, Tony. Tony's got to get a better security system. This stuff's going on top of his place like this. He has no idea. Come on now, man. Apparently, the Stark Tower, which eventually becomes the Avengers Tower, actually takes place in the same spot that the MetLife building is. Apparently. Now Thor's like, okay, I can pick up the hammer now because I've been sitting here for like 20 minutes thinking about it. All right. I like that he actually has to repair the old Iron Man suit, like helmet and stuff there. He's like, yep, all right. Just to make it flyable, basically. Oh yeah, Thor actually puts on his like actual armor, which is cool. I also like that Cap says to that guy's son, just like he's an old man. Yeah. So the other question is, so Fury broke into Coulson's locker after Loki had killed him and put some fake blood on those cards and threw those cards at him, like those guys, to make them like excited about going to fight, or remotivated. I don't know. It's just weird. See, look at that. The old faults in the old Iron Man suits. I like it. Yeah, I just love how Selvig is so crazy. Oh, poor guy. One thing you'll notice too with this film and Age of Ultron is that they do a lot of like crowd shots and stuff. You don't get that as much with the Russos. Not that it's a good or bad thing, it's just something that you don't get as much. I just love this thing that takes off the suit piece by piece still. I just think it's so cool. Like, I know I mentioned it in the beginning, but it's still something that I love because there's something about it just so very Iron Man in every way. Look at all the crazy things he's got for bottles in the back there on his bar. Ugh. Earth's Mightiest Heroes. Had to get it in there somewhere. I like how they just accept now that they are the Avengers. Like, it just, yep, we're the Avengers. I also like there that Tony does kind of build up Captain America there for a second. Like, he still has respect for the guy, even though he's got problems with him. Because if we can't protect the Earth, we damn well sure will avenge it. I love it. Also, this is a good moment. I really like this because Joss Whedon kind of is like, all right, clearly couldn't work on Iron Man if that's like the method is kind of hit him in the chest. And of course, Tony would make some sort of sick joke like that. But he got the bracelets on, so he's good. Also, in all, or a lot of the movies, I think almost all the Phase 2 movies, maybe most of the Phase 1's ones as well, somebody always picks up Tony Stark by the throat. It's just this thing. This happens to him a lot. It's so cool, too. I just love Iron Man suits, man. They're just so cool. Those people are now blind and deaf. So apparently, Joss Whedon put jetpacks on the back of Iron Man there as well, so that way he could kind of use his hands, kind of more like a Western gunfighter pose, so he's not always doing like a Tinkerbell pose. This scene I love too, because you do get just Tony being full-on Iron Man going to fight. It's so good. Like, just one guy versus all these things, and he's just starts letting all the rockets and repulsors go. It's just so great. It's almost like I wish he was wearing the War Machine outfit right now. Yeah. Oh, it's so cool. I love that kind of wide shot there. So this is the first time in the kind of the modern day, and especially to this extent, that people are starting to see like aliens and gods and all this crazy technology, because up until this point it's been pretty much the world as we would know it, except in very isolated circumstances. Kind of put your armor on. It's part of his magic, which is undefined, which is that's okay. It's fine. Oh, I like Thor's armor. It's so cool. It's kind of like this kind of like dragon scale feel on the actual arms. Also, I love how obsessed Loki is with like the war. It's like the first time he's actually had like a full army to go up against like everybody he hates. Like he just hates everyone. Yeah, I don't even know how you'd respond to this if you were just even the military or let alone a police officer. It's just like, okay, I'll just try to save as many people as you can right now. And to think about how crazy this scene is, so we have a man in a suit of armor getting chased by aliens, a super spy in a special jet with this other kind of assassin guy who are shooting at those aliens, and two demigods fighting on the top of the building that the guy in the robot armor is like currently flying around. It's like, and that he owns it, all that. And it makes sense. I love it. See, I tried to shoot him there. It just didn't work. Also, it's kind of cool to see Loki go toe to toe with Thor there, because you usually think of Thor just being like, "Oh, I can just take Loki pretty quickly," but he, in all their fights, he does all right. I feel like Cap also gets just thrown around a lot in this movie. Like he's hanging outside the helicarrier, now he's like hanging inside of this like Quinjet. He just is always kind of like hanging on for dear life. Yeah, there's something, I don't know if it's like Cap's suit is too tight or what. There's just something weird about it. Ugh. But his shield looks good. I guess it's the mask too. It's too rubbery. The Chitauri Leviathans, which are pretty cool. Big kind of space dragon worms. I like the design of them. I don't know how they fly. I'm sure they have repulsor technology and stuff, like the little jet skis that the other guys are using. Big chunky boys. I like those noises the Chitauri make when they're jumping out, though. That's cool. Guy rolls in, fires 2 or 3 shots, and misses completely. I'm just trying to think of how Banner knew to come to New York. Poor Thor is always trying to help Loki, but he's susceptible to stabbing attacks, apparently. I think the sentiment over the years does get to Loki, though, a little bit. Like, I'm not going to say Loki becomes a complete good guy. He's definitely like an anti-hero and villain most of the time, but anti-hero at best. But I think seeing all of this, it does rub off on him. Thor's just like, why? Getting stabbed. Yeah, they're so lucky that the government decided to send in this nuke at the end of this whole thing. It's like, how would they have been able to stop all of them? It would be my genuine pleasure. I love it. Hawkeye's pretty cool. I just don't think her double pistols are, I don't know. They're not as cool. I wish she had something else. Like, look how she's shooting him, too. What? Hawkeye's, like, helping people out of the bus. What a guy. Oh, Budapest. That's what it was. Like, who were they fighting in Budapest? Also, Captain America gets, like, a lot of this kind of weird parkour running in this. It's like, I don't know, it's kind of weird to see him run like that, to be honest. But then later in the other movies, you actually get a sense of his true speed, and he doesn't really move like that anymore. Oh, they have the Lion King on a poster back over there. I like that Cap proves it in this moment here, that he's like, I can beat people up, so you gotta take orders from me. That disarm move right there is the same one that Batman uses in Justice League. It's crazy. I like how he draws the Leviathan with those flares. That's great. Hawkeye likes to stab with arrows when he can. Oh, there you go. She's using a little lance thing. These Chitauri guys are kind of pushovers, though. I mean, they are the grunts, you know, but he's like, I got stabbed. Ah. I like how he's like affixing all these different arrowheads. Yeah, I just don't know how Banner knew to get there. I'm not saying it's impossible. It's one of my favorite moments, maybe in any movie ever. Oh gosh, I remember seeing this in theaters and just going like, ah, this is amazing. Like, what was Iron Man thinking here? Oh my gosh, it's so good. Oh, such a beautiful, perfect moment. And also, this punch right here, I swear Iron Man, like, he probably like calculated that and put that into the Hulkbuster suit with Banner, like how strong that punch was, because it's like one of the strongest punches he's ever done, and then he matches it with the Hulkbuster in Age of Ultron, and the amazing hero shot where it's just like, all right, here they are. I remember going to see this with my mom in theaters after I got back from college that year, and she laughed and she kind of leaned over to me and she said like, what is she gonna do with her pistols? And I was like, Ma's throwing shade at Black Widow. Hilarious. Because I completely agree. I love that Cap gets to use his like military training there, and they's just like calling all stuff out, and they're like, all right, teaming up and leaving. And there's the little Legolas quip there about Lord of the Rings. Oh, so good. And it's like Hulk, they just are like, all right, you just go do your thing, man. Just don't get in our way. Just go kill as many things as you possibly can. If you're really crazy and you're looking for something kind of fun, you can actually look up. There's some people who've done articles on how much damage big movie battles like this costs, and people can estimate how much it would really take to refurbish and reconstruct. It's interesting. Here's another like cool, crazy comic book moment. It's like, what if Thor got on top of the Chrysler building and used it as a super big lightning rod? It's like he probably should just stay there and hold that portal. Like, look at this. He's doing work. Kind of feel bad for those Chitauri Leviathans, though. I feel bad for like the big animal types, you know? That's just who I am. Did he say I will Roger that? That's great. I like how Hawkins even look at some of these guys. Just like, whatever. He does have that confidence, though, and I do like seeing him use all these different arrows like that, like kind of thermite arrow. It's good stuff. It's cool, too, because we've seen Iron Man fly before like this in, like, these tight spaces, but it's cool to have him have backup like he hasn't had before with, like, an archer on a building. See, Iron Man's still trying to have fun with all this. It's a bad situation, but he's like, we'll still have some fun. How terrified would you be not only to be in that office building, but then see like the Hulk come out to jump on the super whale thing? I'd be like, oh my gosh. This is like an event that obviously they brought up a lot in all like the Defenders shows on Netflix and stuff, but like this, if this really were to happen this way, this would be something people would talk about every day forever. Like the incident or the invasion or whatever you want to call it. I think this would break her arms if she tried to do this. I'm not saying she couldn't do it. I'm just saying like that shoulder is dislocated. That's all I'm trying to say. The nice thing is, oh, I like the little chain that this guy's attached to, so he wouldn't fall off it necessarily. But I like that each of the Avengers does get a moment to shine in a big way. Also, this happens a lot in video games too. It's like just because you stab like the shoulders of something doesn't mean you control it. Too bad Iron Man couldn't just give her a suit. Oh, this is another moment that I love. Oh, it's so cool. Just like a combo attack there, and there's just kind of following through where they're all getting their moves. So there's moments. Ugh. It's just so good. And then you get Hulk and Thor working together here for a brief moment. Ugh. Boom. Combos. I love combos. It just takes me back to Ultimate Alliance, man. Such a good moment here. I don't know if that punch, it like kind of hits his shoulder. I don't know, but still, it's great. I'm picking it apart, all right, guys? I've watched it a lot. It's like the military gets there finally. I love this shot, too, of the mirror. That's so cool. And you actually get to look at the Chitauri, too. It's stuff like that that I really enjoy. And I also like that there's, like, these little moments like this where there's, like, these little conflicts happening at the same time as the huge conflicts. Like, oh, there's a bunch of people trapped in a bank. You gotta get in there and save them. That's cool. Gives Cap some stuff to do. Totally snap that dude's neck. It's like, take his mask off because Chris Evans needs more screen time. Little jump with the shield here. Boom. So good. Oh, Cap. You're so wonderful. Now, I'm pretty sure that actress there, that blonde that we see keep popping up, she's actually, I think, the same person who does the voice of Ellie, or the acting for Ellie in The Last of Us, those video games. I like that Fury also gets to use a little bit of sass here and there, even though he's usually pretty cordial. I love it. I also think it's crazy that these guys are like, all right, we're going to nuke Manhattan, right? But it's not going to take care of the portal necessarily. So, like, why wouldn't your first plan be like, hey, let's try to send a nuke into the portal? I love that knowing smile. He's like, I've got him. I love it so much. It's just like cuts all the noise, just like the wind, and Loki's just like, yeah, whatever, dude. And it's like, nope. Oh, so good. Hulk just comes out of nowhere. Oh, that'd be so scary. Oh, it's so good. Another one of my favorite moments, just watching freaking Loki just get rolled around. Ah, puny god, just like one of the only things he says. It's almost a little too comical at times, like with Loki kind of doing that wheeze there, but it's still very good. I guess I just prefer. I like the comedy to be here and there in my superhero movies, but at the same time, I like to be that tension, throughout. I'm a picky guy. That's why I think I just love the Russos so much, is that it's just so serious so much of the time. So it takes one infinity gem to cancel out another, sort of. Yeah, there you go. Using that laser again. I love it. It's cool to see that there's like a little radar and they're showing him approaching the actual Leviathan in his heads-up display within the helmet. That's so cool. So much detail with the visual effects here. Also, I don't know what kind of insulation or padding he has within the Iron Man suit, because I think about that too. I'm like, it'd just be a man in like a metal suit, and if he fell like that, it would be very devastating. I like Hawkeye running out of arrows here, just being like, oh, I have to get out of here. This is not good. At this point, you kind of have to think Black Widow and Hawkeye are kind of superhuman because of the stuff they can do. You're like, what? Like, he's like, I'm back. Oh, this is laughable to me though, because like Hulk starts getting shot up a ton here, and it's like, oh yeah, all the heroes are going down. It's like, this wouldn't stop Hulk. Like, he would just fight through it. I like that Fury is the only dude who's gonna run out there with an RPG to take this thing down. He's like, nope. I like it. I like seeing Fury get his hands dirty a little bit. Look at that cool missile too. It's got kind of like the ridges on it and stuff. Some reason in my mind, I always picture it being like the top of like a mace, that you see like a medieval mace rocket launcher. It's not that. I just always think that. Fury, get your pistol. Ah, it'll never work. What if that other ship was not a decoy and it was just another guy just trying to fly out to fight? Yeah. It's almost weird to hear Jarvis in his suit, actually, now. I'm thinking about Vision and all that. I'm not sure if that's an F-22 Raptor or something else entirely different. Guys, like, I just nuked New York City. It's a cool shot of these two fighting back to back. It's interesting too to see, like, maybe it's like a healing factor that Cap has. You can take like a bolt like that from these guys and their blasters. Kind of like a respect for warriors there. I love it. They just kind of like, yeah, they learn from each other by being on the battlefield. I guess Captain America could understand what a nuke is. I mean, he's around during World War II, but he probably wouldn't know how destructive this thing is now. It doesn't have to be a one-way trip. That's all I'm trying to say. You just get it pointed in the right direction and let it go. Also, she should have been trying to call Tony this whole time. Come on now. You're killing me, Peppa. It's cool there. You see like Hulk kind of look up as like, oh my gosh, what's happening? See, let it go right now. Let it go. Okay. Well, they're like, yes, Tony Stark's dead. Oh yeah, and we're saving New York. But mostly Tony Stark's dead. Thank goodness. Now, I don't know how gravity works with this whole wormhole thing, but... And they do touch on this a bit in Iron Man 3, which I appreciate, because I like seeing consequences of crazy actions like this. But, like, he's got PTSD from what he's seen, because, like, now he's just insane, because he used to be just so narcissistic and kind of so cocky and arrogant. And some of that remains, but there's so much of him who's just been, like, after this, he's just such a changed man. I wish I hadn't seen this in the trailers either, but it's cool too that you get this moment here where he is falling. And like he still makes it out of this. But Thor like is gonna go save him. It's so good. And then Hulk. Oh, it's so good. It's like they're buddies. Aw. What a guy. He just pushes him off immediately like, I don't want to. Don't touch me. He looks like the most Tony Stark comic accurate in this one moment here with the mask off and just like the facial hair and everything. They did such a good job. Probably my 4 favorite Avengers right here too. Look, Cap's hair, still great, even though messed up. Another thing I like too about this is that at the end of a lot of superhero films, sometimes the heroes do seem a little tired, but like these guys are like completely wiped out. They're like, oh my gosh, they're like, we won. Ugh. And kind of a fun parallel to the end of Infinity War where they're like, we lost, you know, sitting on the ground like that. Man, the Avengers are so quiet. I like how Hulk's just like breathing really heavily. He's like, I want to kill this guy. See, there's only 6 of them there, but it still feels like a pretty big team. That looks like a fake green screen background there. How did they get all the names and stuff? Huh. Aw, Stan Lee. I love that there's kind of all sides of this debate going on. It's great. And here's Loki's cute little mask. So funny. Here comes that actress again. I love that Fury was just like laughing. He's like, "Ha ha, I was right. You guys suck." I like how they had the Tesseract out in public like that, just so unsecured. And they don't hide it. Like, they don't hide their superheroes in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Like, there's out and about, you know, in the world. It's great. And there they go, Science Bros. Cap's like, I'm going back to S.H.I.E.L.D. headquarters, I guess. So crazy that they actually pulled this movie off. You know, you have these 4 other films that came first. You have Iron Man, Incredible Hulk, Thor, and Captain America. And you still bring them all together. Obviously, you change up the actor for Hulk, but you coalesce them and make this crazy world work, you know, and make people know this team that beforehand, before the Avengers, the film here, were a B-tier team at best. You know, when you thought about superheroes back in the day, especially in the 90s and stuff, and before that, a lot of it was, you know, the X-Men, Spider-Man, you know, or you look at DC with Batman, Superman, like the Justice League was always way higher than the Avengers were going to be. Like, they're not going to top that, or like Fantastic Four and stuff. But now it's like Avengers are the A-team. Like, they have gotten to that point where people know all of these weirdos. Like, you got even Guardians of the Galaxy that are so beloved now, who were definitely like C or D team before that, if the Avengers were going to be the B team. So it's so cool to see them pull this all off, and, you know, starting all off with Iron Man, but really kind of hitting the fever pitch here with Avengers. And there it is. Avengers. The first Avengers. Oh my goodness, I love it. Still holds up. I still really enjoy this film. I don't know if what I give it for a score nowadays. You know, when I first saw it, it just blew my mind. I remember coming back. It was Sunday night. I saw it in college, and just like I was calling like my mom, and I'm like, "Oh my god, I saw this amazing movie. I saw the Avengers," and it was so incredible. And then getting to go home and see it with my family and just experiencing that. It's so much fun. Kind of talking to her afterwards and saying like, "Oh yeah, which Avenger do you think I'd be?" And she's like, "Oh, I think you'd be Iron Man." And I was like, "Why Iron Man, Ma?" And she's like, "Well, I think you'd make the sacrifice play like he did." And I was like, "You're killing me. Thank you, Ma." I also love this kind of ending here where you get to see all their kind of weapons or their armaments and stuff. And they kind of do a similar thing with Age of Ultron, where they have this kind of huge kind of clay model thing that they kind of pan around the whole time. Oh man, old Iron Man suit like that's so cool. But yeah, if I had to give it a score nowadays, it's probably in the 9 range. It's it's not completely perfect. There are some things I'm not a huge fan of, some of the angles and some of the choices like that. But like the cast, pretty much all wonderful. The dialogue's great. The action's wonderful. Or it's exciting. It's gripping. It's also indicative of each person's or each character's personality. The plot does get a little convoluted sometimes, and if you start to look, you do find these little plot holes here and there. But setting up something that would change movies forever, like this shared cinematic universe that actually works and is built up over time, starting in 2008, and now we are here in 2019, still going, which is just insane to me. It's like, ugh, my goodness, so cool. And here a little tease for the future, even though they had no idea what to do with them back in the day. I remember my family actually turning to me and asking, like, who the heck is this guy? And I didn't know Thanos before this. I'll be honest with you guys. I didn't. Now I do. I just have to be quiet so we can let this happen. Is to court death, which they should have used Hela as the embodiment of death for Thanos to fall in love with from Thor Ragnarok, but they didn't do it. Oh, they should have. It's too bad. But there you go, everybody. Avengers. Oh my goodness. So crazy. A long movie, but it's, you know, these movies do get that length, and it sounds like we're looking at a 3-hour film for Avengers Endgame. Thank you all so much for joining me here tonight. I hope you enjoyed this. I know I sure did. If you've gotten to this point in the commentary, please tweet me the hashtag Endgame. Hashtag Endgame. Just tweet that at me. I'm at JimmyGood013. If you want to support the channel and you want more commentaries like this, please let me know, and please do so by going over to donate over at patreon.com/criticalreviews, or you know, buying some stuff from our Spreadshirt, our merch shop. That'd be great too. Or just telling a friend. Seriously, like, just sharing this commentary. If it got you through a work day, just me talking to you. I know I didn't talk the entire time, but there's a few times I had to be quiet. I wanted to listen in a little bit. But yeah, I am so excited, and we love talking about pop culture stuff here on the channel, and obviously Avengers are the poppiest pop culture thing right now. So thank you guys so much for tuning in, and until next time, just remember to adapt and overcome.